Welcome to another episode of Ask the Professional. This week we have Brian Altman with DBS Remodel stopping by. Brian started his business in 1985 and he's worked really hard and has become one of the best, most premier remodelers in the area.
Here's a question from Brianna Catherine. I am turning my basement into a rental apartment. What is some advice for soundproofing the ceiling?
Okay, the first thing I would do is check with the local zoning laws to make sure that it's permissible to put that apartment into the basement, because there would be a lot of risk to illegally bring somebody in and have that space. Make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where, let's say there's a fire in the basement and there's no egress to get out of that space. Regarding sound barrier, doing that, there's basically that noise pollution. There's two types. The first one is airborne noise, which is people walking, music, things like that. And the way that we would take care of that would be to go up into the ceiling, into the floor joists, and friction fit some acoustical insulation up in there. But the other thing that's really annoying, and probably what you'd be concerned with, is the impact noise. So somebody may be walking with high heel shoes on and walking through that space, or somebody hanging a picture, banging on the wall. And there's things that we can do there. They make a nice resilient channel. It's kind of like a T-shaped channel that's fastened to the underside of the floor system, and then we would suspend the drywall right to that, and it creates that barrier, and that will absorb a lot of that noise. So there are options, all come at a little different price point. The cheapest thing that you could do would be to bring in a tenant that's very quiet.
Here's a question from Stacy Rollman McCutcheon. We have purchased a home over 100 years old. We keep running into problems. Where should we start?
I would advise to start on the outside of the home. We really want to protect the investment. So let's make sure that the roof, siding, and windows are tended to first. That's where I would start. Another thing that can be done on the outside of the home, and what we would recommend, would be to look at the water mitigation away from the home. So there's gutters on the house. We want to make sure, we want to bring in a professional, like the brothers that just do gutters, to bring them in, get a full assessment. And certainly when we bring the water down to grade, where is it going to go? We don't need any more pressure on the foundation, and we want to make sure that we're getting that water graded, away from the house. And then from there, going into the inside, what we did was every time we remodeled a different room, we would install that insulation. The beautiful charm that come with the older homes doesn't come cheap, but there are a lot of rewards for it, and they are fun to remodel.
Here's a question from Kristen McCarthy Tamburo. We are looking to possibly remove a wall in our new home. How can we tell if the wall is load-bearing or not?
Kristen, you wouldn't be alone with that thought. It seems like a big trend these days is to have larger open spaces, particularly with kitchens. Most of the kitchen remodels we do really involve taking the partition wall out between a small kitchen and a small dining room, and we want to open up that space. And we have to be concerned about whether it is load-bearing. And the best way to figure that out is to talk with a remodeling professional or to a professional engineer to get some insight on that. But essentially, if we look at the wall going up, if the ceiling joists or floor joists, if there's a second floor above it, if they're running perpendicular to that wall, chances are it's a bearing wall. And if they're going parallel to those rafters, ceiling joists, floor joists above, then chances are it would not be a bearing wall. If we take that wall out, we do need to compensate for the weight that's coming down. And the way that we would typically handle that would be to install some type of beam or header to spread that out to the desired width of however far you want to open that up. We do have to take that load all the way down. We have to account for that all the way down to the foundation. So if it's a big beam, it's going to be a direct point load that goes down to the basement, and that can get expensive because oftentimes we have to put lally columns and even footings, jackhammer the concrete floor and put in footings to be able to accept that weight. So speaking with a professional before you engage in that is definitely a good thing to do.
Question from the brothers. When thinking about remodeling, where do I begin?
That's a great question, and that's tough. And we've learned that there's so many people that actually don't remodel because they don't know where to go. They don't know who they can trust. They don't know how to get the process started. And I've learned that with all the seminars that we do and the course that we teach, what you must know about hiring a remodeling contractor. People come and they're just, they're scared, they're apprehensive. But I think it would start with trying to get some really good referrals from people that you know, like, and trust, and talk to them about their experiences. And certainly trying to find somebody who, maybe worries just as much about you as far as dust or having a guest in your home, remodeling your home. And then from there, meeting with a couple individuals, but at the end of the day, there's three things basically that we need to know. We need to have somebody come up with a very good design for the project. A well-written job scope is paramount in signing a remodeling contract because people need to know what they're buying. And certainly we don't want to deal with ballpark prices. Ultimately, we need to get a concrete, firm investment for the project. So finding a company that can deliver all of those things is certainly going to be a step in the right direction.